Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Setter back again to show you some features that might be useful as you get going with using Google Docs. First of all, I want you to take a look at the toolbar across the top of the screen. There are lots of different features to explore, and your teacher will definitely introduce many of them to you. But to get started, I want to show you a few basic things. As you begin typing your document, you'll notice that my cursor starts at the very beginning of the line. When I begin typing a paragraph, I need to make sure that I indent my paragraph. Now in the past, we may just use the space bar to do this. But if you notice, every time I start a new paragraph, I might not know how many spaces I've included. So there's an easy way to make sure that you always use the same number of spaces, and that's the tab key. The tab key moves it over about 1/2 of an inch, and if you use this every time you write a paragraph, then it will always be the same distance for your indentation. The tab key is located on the left side of the keyboard, right by the letter Q and right below the number 1. The second thing that you can pay attention to is the number of spaces that you have between your words. If I take a look right now and move my cursor over, putting my cursor and clicking the trackpad, I can put my cursor there and use my arrow keys to see how many spaces I have. I have 1 space between each of my words, and only 1. I don't need more than that, but I need to make sure that I have 1. Along the same lines, you can see inside of my words, I have no spaces between the letters. When I type, I'm going to make sure that all of the letters in my words stay together with no additional spaces. Now I have a little bit of text on my page. If I decide that this is the title of my document, I can move my cursor to the beginning and then look up in my toolbar to this section. And you'll notice that these look like tiny little paragraphs, but they don't have words in them, they just have lines. So right now it's set to left align, and what that means is it's going to line up along the left side of the page. If I want this to be my title and I want it centered, then I'm going to hover over the one that says center. Remember, my cursor's at the beginning of the line, and click the center button. It moves all of my text to the middle. If I want it lined up on the right side, I would click the right align. Now, if I play around with that and I'm not quite sure which one I want, rather than clicking through each of my options, I have another way that I can undo what I just did. On the left side of the screen, there are 2 different arrows. There's a backwards curved arrow that says undo, and a forward curved arrow that says redo. Watch what happens when I hit the undo button. It moves it back, moves my text back to the location that it was originally in before I moved it to the left side. Now if I decide that's not what I want, I can click the redo button and it moves it back over. This works with anything that you've done on the page. So if I've decided that I'm going to type a sentence here on the page, and then I decide, oh, I don't want the question mark, I can hit the undo button and it actually deletes most of what I just did. So if I keep hitting delete, it's going to delete part of my sentence. I can also use the backspace button as a delete key. Your keyboard might say delete right on it. That's located in the upper right-hand corner of your keyboard at the end of all of the numbers. The last thing that I want to show you is how to highlight and change the font. If I want to make sure that I am highlighting some important words in my text, I can put the cursor either at the beginning or the end of what I want to highlight, hold down the trackpad and drag my finger across, or I can use my arrow keys and go backwards, and then take a look in your toolbar. That letter A, when I hover over it says text color, but next to it is a little drop down arrow. I can change the color of the text, so I can turn this to be blue. If I click off of it, I can see the word is now blue. And let's say I also want to highlight that in yellow. I can click the highlight button and select a color to highlight it. When I click off of it, I can see that that special word is in blue font and it's highlighted in yellow. The very last thing I want to show you is this gray set of words. Right now mine says all changes saved in Drive. This is called the revision history. If I click on this, I now have a record of a certain list of changes that has happened in this document. So if I click on the other date and time, this is when I started the document. If I'm working with a group of people and someone makes a change that maybe shouldn't be there, I can go back in the revision history and see what the document said originally. Likewise, if you share a document with your teacher, they can also see the revision history. So if you are typing something and then you decide you're going to delete it all and write something new, your teacher can see what you wrote originally. To get back to the original screen, I can hit the back button. And now I'm right back where I started.